Okay, so Aleppo, Avalon. Avalon's here. I see them.
Here, sorry.
No worries. Bell Acres, Bellevue,
Here.
Ben Avon,
Here.
Edgeworth, Emsworth, Glen Osborne,
Here.
Glenfield, Hayesville, Kilbuck,
Yep.
Leet,
Here.
Leetsdale, Sewickley,
Present.
and Sewickley Heights is not here, so that is 8. That's a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go on to public guests. And do we need to share screen?
It's gonna be an agenda item, so I mean, we can skip on to that one for the emergency services one.
Oh, is it further down? Okay.
It's a bit hard to hear Barb, just
Oh,
the
okay.
FYI. I don't know if you can get closer or I don't know.
Okay, we're now down to, since I see no public guests, we're on 5, omnibus. Approval of the minutes, April financial reports, unpaid bills, and payroll summary. I'll take a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Patrick, any discussion?
So real quick, we'll see in another agenda item. You've probably guys, you might have seen in the bills. There's a bunch of checks going out to our member communities. That's going to be our Act 101 joint recycling distribution. Also, you might have seen in the financial report that a lot of our RAD revenues and a lot of our dues are coming in. So the bank accounts are in good shape. So other than that, everything is standard. If you have any questions about minutes, I'd be happy to answer them.
All those in favor of accepting the omnibus approval of the meeting minutes, financial reports, signify by saying aye.
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 The president's report. First of all, I'd like to welcome our presenters tonight. Emergency management planning is important to all of our communities along the Ohio River, and especially for those that belong to the COG. I'd like to welcome you all here tonight, both of you here tonight. Also, for the president's report, I am happy to see the recycling is going well, that we will probably have another site, which Patrick will further explain later on, and that the Route 65 is going forward, and will be setting up the meetings, and I was happy to see the police roundtable also. And that is my report.
Thanks, Barbara. So we'll skip up to the executive director's report. So on May 26th, the QVCOG is going to be working with Municipal Risk Management to conduct a flagger safety course, which is going to take place at Avalon's Public Works Garage. So more or less, anyone that's an MRM pooled trust community, the training is totally free. If they're not, it's a minimal cost. I think it's like $40 a person for this certification. We've had already about a dozen employees from our various communities sign up, just trying to get that final push for anyone that's interested. So if your community is looking for these certifications, please reach out to your municipal manager or public works supervisor, and I will be glad to get them signed up for this. And again, that's going to be a 3-year certification, so they'll be covered for quite a while. Also, real quick, cybersecurity training. So in our last month's managers meeting, one of the ideas that came up as maybe a training opportunity is cybersecurity and anti-phishing, malware. Just it's a training that's maybe not widely distributed, but a lot of the audits that occur every year are looking for it. So we're going to be putting that together. It's through the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs on June 15th at noon. So the QVCOG bought the training. Anyone that's interested can take place in the training free of charge. Also, the SHACOG is looking for the responses for their contract survey for the self-purchasing agreement. So that's going to be due on June 1st. So anyone, any community that's a member of that purchasing alliance is going to be required to finish that survey by that deadline. QVCOG highlighted, if you don't participate in that survey, they can't necessarily count you towards the next contract. So very important there. The waste management facility tour, originally scheduled for May 4th, was canceled because flooding. More or less, their Neville Island facility got a lot of rain the night before, as well as everybody else. So we're going to switch that from May 4th to June 1st, same time, 11 a.m. I'm hoping everyone that registered for the first event can make the second one. And anyone that didn't have the opportunity to get to that May 4th event, it's going to be on June 1st. So if you're interested, please reach out. We'll get you signed up. It's free. It's a really insightful tour. Check out the recycling facility, see how, the truck drops everything off, everything gets recycled, and you kind of get the insight on why certain products aren't recyclable, and you can ask questions to the waste management officials for maybe service issues or anything like that. Municipal intern program. So we offered the internship to Miss Anna Richard, who is a undergraduate student at W&J College, pursuing political science and governmental relations, I believe, her major. She accepted. It's going to be around the June 1st timeframe when her finals wrap up. So we're going to bring her on board that week. So I can't wait to introduce her to you guys. Going to be doing some site visits throughout our communities, so she gets the whole comprehensive local government experience throughout the 12-week program. And throughout the internship, we'll be providing updates to the board too. Last but not least, tomorrow we're going to be getting together with the police chiefs just to start the discussion on the joint mutual aid agreement, which we brought up at the last meeting. So again, that's going to be a pretty long process, I would assume. It's a big deal. So this is going to be the introduction to it. I'm hoping to establish a routine meeting date, whether that's once a month or once every other month with the group. So all those details will come out, after tomorrow, but really excited about that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Patrick. Any questions on Patrick's report?
Yeah, Patrick, I have a question. It's Roberta in Avalon.
Sure.
How long is the June 1st waste management tour? That is the kickoff of the Bellevue Farmers Market season. And also Avalon is celebrating 20 years in that library building. Forgive me, I forget whom it's named after. But so we have busy days in our boroughs. Do you know how long it will be?
The tour itself will probably be about a half hour. There's probably going to be another half hour of questions and answers, but I wouldn't expect that you'd be on site at that facility for any more than 45 minutes or an hour.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody else? And we'll go on to new business. Patrick, would you like to introduce our guest?
Sure. So Mr. Michael Mullins is the emergency coordinating response officer for Sewickley Borough. He reached out to me about a month or so ago and just had some questions. And throughout our conversations, I realized there's a lot of new members on our board and a lot of new members on all of the boards in our communities. So he recommended that I reach out to Mr. Robert Gerlach from Allegheny County's Emergency Response Division. And Mr. Gerlach is here tonight to just provide a brief presentation on all of the Allegheny County community's obligations as far as their emergency management plans and the responsibilities of the individual coordinators within those communities. So that being said, Mr. Robert Gerlach.
The PDF, they don't have that yet. You'll send that out.
I'll send it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all these slides, for those of you on Zoom, Patrick has a copy of them that he can email it to you. So basically the purpose is I'm just going to go over what the role of the emergency management coordinator is for the municipality, but also what your role as elected officials for your municipality. Going to go over what's going on in Pennsylvania and how it applies to us here. The basic thing is, who's responsible for this mess? Whenever disasters do happen, everyone's pointing fingers, whether it's FEMA, the county, fire, EMS, or police, or is it the elected officials? So right off, there are 11 requirements in Pennsylvania Title 35 for all municipalities within the Commonwealth. And basically, what's that in the middle of the screen? I'm sorry.
It's just, it says who's talking.
All right, thank you. All right, basically you have to have an emergency management or emergency operations plan. You have to have an emergency operations center. There we
There
go.
we go.
You have to have training programs, which we at the county provide that for local coordinators. You have to have manpower supplies, that's your equipment. Any precautionary measures to mitigate, that goes with mitigation plans I'll talk about later. If FEMA has any rules or orders, coordinate with obviously your public and private entities. Have at your EOC all your plans, rules and orders of the governor and the agency, which is FEMA, Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency. And provide prompt and accurate information. You know, the local municipal level provides that information to the county provides to the Commonwealth. Participate in tests, drills, exercises, and every municipality in your council of governments already participates in the flood insurance programs now. So every municipality is required under Title 35 to have a municipal emergency manager. And basically, they're appointed by the governor based on the recommendation of you as elected officials. You can't have a person that is a coordinator for 2 or more municipalities. You can have 2 or more municipalities actually combined together with what we call a regional EMA, which is something I'll talk about a little bit later. And elected officials can be an emergency management coordinator. If basically, as I know, many people are looking for who's going to do this. Some things that the EMC should have the ability to do, and you know, read, write, be able to understand fiscal administration, be able to provide stuff like I'm doing here, community outreach and public demonstrations. The big thing is that other bullet point, operate computers, wireless and wired communications. That is 99% of what we do. You need to have some computer activity or knowledge. Then work with VOADs. That's, for example, some of the VOADs, Red Cross, Salvation Army, South Hills Interfaith Ministries. We have the North Community Outreach. We have many that belong to the Allegheny County VOAD. And then work with your public safety services and organizations. So what is they required to do? Well, they have to have that emergency operations plan that was discussed on what the municipalities are required to have. The emergency operations plan actually has 4 volumes. The basic plan is the only part that is promulgated by the elected officials and is subject to Freedom of Information Act that can be requested by the public. The other volumes, the notification resource manual, the functional checklist, and it has specific plans, are all basically for official use only, because that is your playbook. You might have contact information and all that information. Also, you have to have a hazard mitigation plan, but luckily the FEMA permits municipalities to sign on to the county-wide plan. And this is the first year ever we've had all 130 municipalities in Allegheny County adopt the mitigation plan, so you don't have to worry about that part. Your coordinator is required to attend 2 quarterly meetings that is hosted by the county. They also have to obtain within 1 year of their appointment by the governor what's called basic certification. And there's a series of classes. Really, the only classroom classes left is the county orientation duties and responsibilities, which I host twice a year at our facility, and it usually lasts about 2.5 hours. There's damage assessment and reporting courses, and there's 8 FEMA independent study courses. Then they also have to obtain within 3 years of appointment or 2 years after obtaining their initial basic certification, the advanced level certification, which has some classroom courses. The G191 is a 1-day course. The ICS 300 is actually a 3-day course, but then there's also some independent study courses they have to take. So, you know, your emergency management coordinator, there's a lot that they have to do and keep and maintain, which I'm sure many of you are not aware of that. So here, what is the role of elected officials during emergency management in the phases? Well, first of all, remember, all disasters are local. Your local fire, police, EMS are the first ones on scene. All disasters start local, they will end local. You'll be the last ones to leave that. But you also, your emergency management coordinator, your emergency services chiefs and directors, they work and live in your community, so they know the community best. So that they're the best to actually start with that planning and training. The county, our level is not really as responsive, but help coordinating, especially when 2 or more municipalities are involved with the same disaster. But having those plans, that emergency operations plan is very key, and having it complete. One of the things that I've run into over the past 5 years that I've been with the county is that there's templates for 3 of those 4 volumes, and that's all that I get. No one has any hazard specific plans. The reason why there aren't any templates for that is every disaster affects every municipality different based on demographics, industry, how your topography, those type of things. I did create some very, very blanket templates to help the coordination, some of the most common hazards that we have in Allegheny County. Response, that's what the action's taken with your work with your fire, police, EMS. And then recovery, those are the activities that we're trying to bring it back to as close to normal or safer, basically a safer situation following disaster. And that's where you need to get your FEMA, what they call the FEMA cost sheets for estimates of disasters for potential reimbursement. As I'll talk about a little bit later, just because there's a disaster, and even if you declare disaster, does not guarantee that anything's going to actually fall within the thresholds that FEMA has established. One of the assistance is an individual assistance, and that's really reserved for large human impact. Last time, minus COVID-19, the last time Allegheny County has qualified for individual assistance, which means a presidential disaster, was Hurricane Ivan, the flooding from that. And that is direct FEMA federal money for your businesses and your residents. What we do get more often is the SBA declarations, which has a lower threshold. We only need 25 households or businesses that have at least a 40% uninsured loss, or 5 businesses that will be no significant loss. It was last year, there was an apartment fire in Penn Hills, and that building alone, because it was a total loss and had 30 units, qualified for an SBA declaration. So we can't use those for those type of things. Public assistance is for your nonprofits and your municipal governments, county governments, your public sector. It is a cost share program, local 25% responsibility. Sometimes, depending on what we get, sometimes the state does cover the 25, but never count on that. Thing is, there's 2 thresholds to meet that. The first threshold, you have to have about $5 million worth of damage within Allegheny County. But then also the entire Commonwealth has to have about $21 million worth of damage. So even if we don't get $5 million of damage, we report our damages because it might help the Commonwealth as a whole. The other thing about mitigation, we talked about every municipality in Allegheny County has signed on to the hazard mitigation plan, so that's good. But one thing to remember, the most common flooding is our most common hazard. And then some mitigation projects, sometimes you do acquisition or demolition of flood risk. You do want to reduce the repetitive flood loss. The problem is if you have a large area that you're displacing people, you're also displacing tax base. So you got to do that cost benefit analysis to determine what is the best. There is stuff that you can do like home elevations or other control projects. What is a disaster product? Well, first it starts with the local municipality, and once their resources are exhausted, they can request assistance from the county. The county then can request assistance from the state. One thing, the municipality can declare a disaster, and that's based on whether you're a township or a borough or a city, and whether your ordinance is, you might have an ordinance that specifies something one way, but there's also a blanket way in Title 35 if you don't have an ordinance that trumps that. I'm not going to get into the more specifics on it, but usually if you're a borough, it's your mayor. And if you're a township, depending whether you're first or second class township, depends whether it's your president or chairman of the board, or if it has to be the entire board as a quorum of the board. Just like I said earlier, declaring a disaster does not guarantee any state or federal assistance. And it's also not required. That's a myth that we went into when we had the floodings a few years ago out east in the like Plum, Penn Hills area. Plum never declared a disaster, and there are many of their community residents were saying, hey, we're not going to get any assistance. You need to declare a disaster. That's not required. And they did qualify for the SBA declaration. Basically, all that a municipal declaration disaster does is help you bypass those restrictions you have, like the sunshine laws, except where it's mandatory. Some examples are contracts and obligations. you can enter into contracts with bypassing the bid process, as long as it's made for that disaster. For example, I always use is, you can't get a new gazebo in the park off a contract because you had a flood. And make sure that people don't have the same last name as you. Yeah, and you can temporarily suspend formal requirements, whether it's for performance of work, entering into contracts, employment of temporary workers, renting equipment. For example, when the Fur Hollow Bridge collapsed, they needed to get that crane really quick. They did declare a disaster, which means they were able to get the crane and do some of the other stuff without having to go through the bid process and waiting for, city council and all those other things. And also, yeah, this is the thing, notwithstanding any other provision, whether you have it in ordinances or if it's in state law anywhere, you're not required to have a quorum or be physically present. So you can do this virtually. For example, prior to coming to Allegheny County, I was the director of emergency management for Hemphill Township, Westmoreland County. And we had a salt shortage almost a decade ago. And we actually declared a disaster, but the roads were bad. So the public safety director and myself we went to the homes of the township supervisors for them to sign the declaration instead of them having to come. They don't have to be in one place. And you can do that even through Zoom or any other type of telecommunication devices. The governor can also declare a disaster. And then if the disaster is large enough in the Commonwealth, they requested what's called a major disaster or an emergency declaration to the president. So that if the federal gets involved, and we do have it as that disaster declaration, and they issue, that's where we can get either financial or equipment assistance. So that's the basic overview. And I know that was a lot of information quick. The main important thing is get to know who your emergency manager. If you don't know the emergency management coordinator in your municipality, that's your homework. Oh, I got.
Oh, sorry, I'll put it back up.
All right. Oh. So just to say, give you a little bit of what's going on in your council of governments. The four main requirements that need to keep up is, do you have an appointed EMC? Do you have an emergency operations plan that's current? The emergency operations plan has to be reviewed, revised if necessary, and promulgated by resolution by the elected body every 2 years. And also, it's required to be submitted entirely to the county emergency management, which happens to be me, every 2 years. Have you adopted a hazard mitigation plan, and has your municipality adopted the NIM standards? So we 14, I believe we have 15 municipalities, if I did my research correctly. You only have one municipality currently does not have an appointed emergency management coordinator. I didn't put any names up here because I want to protect the innocent. You could contact me or contact Patrick, he'll contact me, and I'll tell you whether you fall in which of these current or not current or vacant positions, protecting the guilty. Unfortunately, there's only one municipality that has a current emergency operations plan. Actually, it's going to expire next month. So next month we'll have 15 once I get that back. All other 14 municipalities have not sent to me. This doesn't mean you have not reviewed and revised and promulgated. It just has not been properly transmitted to the county. So I don't know about it. As I said, all 130 municipalities, so 15 out of 15 have adopted that. It should be a 0 on the bottom, current, not current, vacant. And then adopted NIM standard, we only have 3 municipalities that have not adopted NIMs by resolution. There hasn't been any teeth to that, but the federal government has used that little carrot stick approach, saying if you don't adopt NIMs and you have a disaster, we have the option to withhold any disaster assistance. Hasn't been used yet, but that's just that little looming thing they put over top of it. So that's the end. Now, if there's any questions, or I'll let you on through the day.
Any questions?
Anybody on Zoom?
Well, I just one quick question. I was wondering where we can check the status of our emergency operations plan. I know you're saying only one municipality, but where would we go to find out when it expired and so forth?
First of all, I'm the one that your emergency management coordinator. I am the liaison to all the municipal coordinators. You can first contact your emergency management coordinator, ask them about it, but then you can either contact me directly or you can go through Patrick and he can contact me then I'll just send the email directly to you.
Perfect, thank you.
Well, even though question, all government officials should have the G402.
The NIMS requirements, there are NIMS training requirements based on your role, whether you are a public safety entity, and then there's different levels based on whether you are a street level, your supervisor level, or administrative level. For elected officials and appointed officials, so if you have a borough or township manager that is not active in the EOC, they're more policy level. The requirement is the G402 course, which I do hold virtually twice a year. The training calendar is on the county website. So if you go to Allegheny County's website and look for emergency management, look for emergency management training. I don't know the exact date. I know I just held one a couple months ago, so it's probably a good 4 to 6 months before the next G402 class. But then you'll get mailed in a postal mail certificate of completion from the County Fire Academy. So you'll have proof that you attended that.
Okay, any other questions or discussion?
July 26th. Okay, never mind. It's coming up soon. July 27th. And if you go to the county website, the registration link is on there. Or check with your emergency management coordinator. They've received my packet of training for this year multiple times. So if they don't have it, they're just not reading their emails.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Gerlach. That
Yes,
was
thank you very much.
an awesome presentation. And again, if anyone has any questions about where their community stands with those agreements or coordinators, reach out to me. I'll reach out to Mr. Gerlach, or you can reach out
Yeah.
directly to him, whatever you guys want. So,
And if you think of any additional questions after, like I'm gonna pack up late unless you have your meeting, but tomorrow, next week, next month. If you have my email, go ahead and contact me direct. If not, go through Patrick, and he'll get me.
and I'll send you guys this PowerPoint as well
Right.
to your emails tomorrow.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
for- Okay. Next is recycling award.
Yep. So, as I mentioned with our bills, 14 out of our 15 municipalities went through the COG for the processing of their Act 101, Section 904 Recycling Performance Grant. And this is for the year 2020. It's always a year behind. We just got our award for 2020, literally like 3 weeks ago. So, again, the awards were about 20 to 30% higher than they have been in prior years. So thank you guys for giving us that data. I just want to see that keep going up, right? The more tonnage that we get from our commercial vendors, our residential pools from curbside pickup, the more money we get back to our communities, the more money that gets back into our joint recycling fund as well. So again, only up from here. Really excited to see where we can take it. And, we started this year finally with a glass recycling center. I want to keep bringing ideas and keep giving services for our communities. That's just the start. Let's see where we can take it, and really excited about what the future holds for that. I don't know if you guys wanted to have a separate motion other than the bills being approved for this, as far as cutting those checks. I don't know how it was done in the past.
I don't
So.
know either. I would say I would entertain a motion. I think that's the best.
Pay the red category, pay the red refunds.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Online, raise your hand.
Hi.
Yeah.
Aye. Hey, Bob, thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, so next up is going to be the establishment of the second glass recycling site. Just some background here. So the second week of March, we launched our first site in Swickley Borough in the Riverfront Park. We've had a total of 4 pools in that time period, right about what we're expecting, range anywhere from 2 to 4 tons of glass. So, obviously we want to make sure it's a little more even as far as those pools, but really well received. I think they were really excited to get that in that region. And now we want to bring something a little closer to the other end of the COG. So we entertained nominations. We had 1 formal nomination. We had some discussions with other communities, but nothing really came about it. So in a correspondence dated February 22nd, Avalon Borough submitted a formal letter, which is included in the packets, to have a space within their community, 637 New Brighton Road, which is right across from their Public Works and Fire Department building. Please note that site actually served as a pop-up glass recycling site from October 30th to November 4th last year, which collected 1.9 tons of glass, during that period. So according to the correspondence provided within the Avalon Borough letter, the area is very well lit and monitored by cameras mounted on the building. This is a high traffic area for residents and neighbors entering Avalon and utilizing Avalon Community Park. Their public works employees are available Monday through Friday, and the fire and police departments have a daily presence there as well. While other communities have suggested interest in hosting a site, nothing was ever received as far as a formal recommendation or maintenance plan. So with that being said, Avalon Borough has requested that the site be established in advance of their Memorial Day celebrations in order to ensure the most visibility amongst their residents and patrons of their community park. I'm recommending a delivery date of May 27th with a launch of Saturday, May 28th for that site. And this would be the first couple weeks, first month really would be covered underneath our pilot program, continuing that. And then July 1st, which we'll get into the next item here, is when I'm going to start to issue the invoices for those participating in the program. We'll get into that a little further, but again, that's the recommendation and that's the nomination for the site.
I think that's great. Do we need,
Yep.
are we getting any PR out that this site will be?
Yeah, so if it becomes official, assuming this is voted on and approved, I'll go ahead and issue the literature to Avalon to get it out to the communities. I'll put it on our Facebook page, as well as distribute it to you guys and our managers groups. That way, each one of your borough buildings can advertise the second site. But I didn't want to get ahead of myself. I didn't want to make
Right.
anything
Right.
formal until we voted on it.
Hey, I'll take a motion for the last recycling site in Avalon to approve. Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand on Zoom.
Aye.
Aye.
May I ask a question? Not related to the petition from Avalon, but I was wondering how we are advertising the COG and just making sure that those sites are, telling the public that the Quaker Valley COG is like supporting this, taking care of it, all the work that you do, Patrick. And I don't know if we need to go all the way to, offering to get, donations for this, but at least to get our name out there.
Yeah, so for the first site, I can say that we got some pretty good press from the Sewickley Herald.
We did.
I put it out there to the Citizen News as well. I think they had a little blurb about it when it first launched. I think they'll get a little more involved because this is closer to their neck of the woods. But I think the Herald would probably be supportive of putting another article out there. They love content like that. People are really into glass recycling. So I can reach out to them as soon as this becomes official. I did reach out to NPR to get something maybe on their radio waves or on their website. Never heard back from them in particular. I could try again. Now that we have two, we're sort of
It won't hurt
doubling
to
our-
try again.
doubling our
Won't
presence,
hurt to
right?
try again.
And again, our Facebook page and our website is how we put it out there. And I'm hoping that all of our member communities are sort of duplicating that. That's where people are looking for news, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. If you guys have social media, please put it out there because that's how it's going to spread quickest rather than anything.
No, yeah, that's how we get support for the COG. And I was also thinking that maybe a banner or something that cannot be easily, taken, but something that we would put there just to show that, again, it's initiative of the COG.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, we're really excited over here in Avalon. And we'll absolutely have it out on our social media pages and everything like that. So we're excited to have one, like you said, on our end of the COG.
Great. Are
And,
there any social media graphics available for this? I know you mentioned, I don't know if you were talking about a physical banner, or if you were talking about like a social media banner, but something that the delegates and even I guess people who are not delegates or anybody interested could add to their Facebook accounts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can get something out to you guys as soon as tomorrow. So I'll just
Okay.
pretty much take what we did for Swickley's and make it Avalon's as far as the verbiage. And I'll get that out to you guys as well as the managers. And yeah, please use it as much as you want.
does Swickley's have a sign? I don't,
So they have
I
a sign.
haven't
It,
noticed it,
it
yeah.
doesn't say anything. It's just a very basic sign. That's what
Yes.
they request. And they're the host, so I'm not gonna ask them to
Right.
put anything that they don't want, but it just says operating hours, dawn to dusk. If you see something, say something, call the number for the borough. We did pay for the sign. It was $50. Our friends in Bellevue Borough produced the sign. So, I think the offer would be similar for Avalon if they want a sign that says what they want the users to see. Whatever they want, I think,
it's important for the communities to do the sign, but I would agree with John Sebastian that Piper Valley Cog should be mentioned somewhere.
Yeah, and thank you, Avalon, for the initiative. This is fantastic.
No, I was just talking to people and informally today in Swickley, and when I mentioned there might be an Avalon, another recycling site, they were excited because they live in Belgium.
Perfect. All right, so the perfect segue into the next topic. More or less, the background is we've had 4 pools for this next memo, anywhere from 2 to 4 tons of glass. So in order to ensure the long-term sustainability of this program, I'm proposing a cost-sharing model that's based on the 2020 census, basically. So based on the current usage from our first site, we're tracking right where we think we're going to be for an annual 26 pools, more or less, give or take a couple here and there for each year. Each pool, is going to be $270 from Michael Brothers Holland. And again, from these initial projections, it was originally $400, and we got done at $270, and they haven't increased it. And I think the second site is going to ensure that we don't see any price increases. That's double business for them. They've been really great to work with. They tend to service those dumpsters the next day. So no complaints on that front at all. So in order to allow participating municipalities to accurately budget for this program, it's being proposed that any additional pools that might occur outside of those 26 annuals that we're budgeting for, or if 13 out of the 15 towns join, anything that doesn't align with what we're proposing for this cost per month per municipality comes out of our joint recycling fund. So there's a lot of questions, what if only a certain amount of communities join? What if we get more pools? We can't afford the extra, and I totally understand that. And I want to be able to give that solution is we can use our joint recycling fund to cover those extra costs. So under the proposal in your packets, you'll see no community pays anything less than $15 a month, and no community pays anything more than $60 a month. And again, it's totally tied on your proportion of your population in the COG. If you have more people, you pay more money just because you'll probably have more users generating class. So the annual cost for the most expensive communities is $720. The cheapest is $180. And those events we had last year, the pop-up events, not that they were bad, they're great. The event cost $800 if you're a host. So now you get 365 days of access, 24 hours a day for $720 a year at the most expensive rate. So
You get dusk to dawn.
yeah, dusk to dawn. However, the host community wants to have it. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. Hopefully there's buy-in here. I gave a sample resolution that we can give to each community. Basically just, you pick whatever your community falls underneath, you put your letterhead on there. And if we can get this back to the COG by July 1st, I think that gives us plenty of time to sort of get this in front of the boards and hopefully get approvals. But yeah, if anyone has, if your boards have questions about, oh, what if it's 30 pools a year? And what if 2 communities don't join? This is your guys' cost. That's it. It's not going to change.
Any other questions about the resolution?
Just maybe a quick one from John Sebastian Kilbuck. Was wondering, Patrick, if they mentioned anything about adjusting that cost based on diesel fuel and cost and things like that. How stable is that 270? Do you think?
So to this point, I mean, we've been in the negotiations with them for probably 6 months about this, and we got down, not up, and they haven't said anything about changing it. But again, if it goes up to $300 a month, then we would just pull it out of the joint recycling fund to commit and honor our commitment. And in that resolution, it says, this is going to be evaluated every year to ensure it's fair to everybody. So if the price does escalate in 2023 or 2024, I would just issue another resolution. We revisit the model and go from there. But just to give everyone the peace of mind, if there is a price increase, which hasn't been indicated, I would commit our joint recycling fund to cover that cost.
That sounds great.
Even if they
Thanks.
didn't, have higher diesel, they're getting the benefit of the free glass, so.
Yeah. Yep.
True.
That's
true.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Sabrina from Bellevue. I was just wondering, so when does this resolution come to us at the June meeting? And then it'd be,
I'll give it to you guys via email. I'll send it up to the managers group and you guys tomorrow. I just didn't want to give anything until it became official. But yeah, you guys can bring it to your councils as soon as, tomorrow if you want, and start that discussion. And if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to meet with councils or hop on a call with you guys and try to answer any questions that you might have.
okay, so we would present this as a resolution to our council. We would obviously discuss it. We would probably, take it to I'm just trying to figure out what this process looks like. For us,
Yeah.
we're going to handle it as any other type of resolution. And then if we were to vote on it, then all the delegates come back to the COG with the results.
Yeah, so that you guys can use the sample resolution and again, use your letterhead and font and everything. This is just, I'll give you the Word document. You can just take that and basically copy it into your resolution, add whatever you want, take out what you want. I just wanted to give something to every community. That way they weren't, left with nothing.
Yeah. No, I think that works. I think it's great. I just was trying to figure out what the timeline looked like so that we can, and so basically once we all come back to you with the outcomes, what would it look like in terms of implementation of the new?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a great question. So what we're going to do is just basically do quarterly billing. So for this year, obviously it's already halfway over.
Yeah.
So I'd probably just bill you guys one time towards the end of the year for whatever the pools are. But moving forward, it would just be quarterly. So if you're owed $720 annually, I send you a bill, for like $185 in April of next year, and then same thing for July. It would just be like any other invoice.
Okay, and then when would the first dumpsters, or not dumpsters, recycling bins be installed, or where do they come from?
Yeah, so there's already one in Sewickley that's going to stay there in Riverfront Park. And then the one in Avalon is going to be dropped off on the 27th of May. And that'll be right across from their Public Works building, 637 New Brighton Road. So they'll be available for use. I mean, one already is, and one will be there in a month. So, or 2
Okay,
weeks.
so I was misunderstanding. So we're buying into using the pre-existing
Yep. Mhm.
recycling. We're not each getting our own.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
Okay, cool. Then great. To have it in Avalon is nice for us on this end.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I get it now. I just have that misunderstanding.
No worries.
Sabrina, it will be down by the ballpark with the new track across from the fire department. So it'll be really close.
Okay, great. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Okay,
Do you want to vote on it?
yes. I'll entertain a motion to go forward with the resolution on the joint glass recycling program.
So we've done it, must mind council already.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, passed. Old business. Down to waste and recycling contract.
So there was the next month's meeting on 80 for that revised agenda. If we want to do that real quick.
Yeah.
So I sent you guys a revised package just for this last little item here. More or less, I will be out of town the week of June 15th, and I've gotten word from a few other delegates that they might have vacations planned. With that being such a popular time for trips and everything, I wanted to request that we shift the June 15th meeting just to Zoom. It was scheduled for Aleppo Township to host. So I'll just basically use the advertisement in the packet, send it over to our paper of record, the Citizen, and we would just meet virtually for that meeting and hop back on the train for July.
I think we need to vote on this. First, I'll take a motion to have Zoom, the next COG meeting in June to be Zoom. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 There you go.
All righty.
Next is the Route 65 update.
I'm gonna book, but I'll be back on that day.
Oh yeah, we'll probably be wrapped up in maybe 20 minutes.
Okay, I'll be back on the board.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again for hosting.
Not a problem.
Okay,
So the last month we had that discussion about the waste and recycling contract
yes.
and just basically ensuring that there's a clear channel of communication. So in the packet, I wanted everyone just to take a look. We did have that policy we approved, and I did include like the table of acts where we can definitely fine waste management if they don't provide the level of service that they agreed to in the contract. And I also came up with a little memo that you guys can take and use for your websites or whatever, but here it is. So if you experience a service issue concerning your garbage or recycling collection, please notify our administrative offices. And that's for each town. Waste management can be held accountable through the newly instated contract deposit fund administered by the QVCOG, which has been established to financially penalize the hauler when service issues are brought to their attention and not remedied in a timely manner. If you contact Waste Management directly through the various 1-800 numbers, we are not typically made aware of this service issue. Communication is essential. If service issues are not brought to our attention, we cannot hold them accountable. And that's just something that every community can put out there. Again, like when residents call the generic 1-800 number and the dispatchers aren't made aware, a lot of times those problems don't get solved pretty quickly, and we don't know about it. And if we don't know about it on our end, we can't penalize them, and we just assume everything's great. And obviously, a lot of times things aren't great. So we want to make sure that everyone's aware that when there's a service issue, residents need to let the municipality know. The municipality then needs to let Waste Management and us know. And then we can start to really use our leverage. Otherwise, if nothing changes, then the service is going to stay exactly the same.
So Patrick, can I have a question? I have a question. So would it make sense to have a dedicated email address, like garbage service at Quaker Valley COG or something like that would be easy for people to email? I know it can become a spam thing, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
So, I mean, ideally, it would just be a CC that like my email address is included in the email to Waste Management. So each community in the memo here, each community has two representatives from Waste Management, and it's split kind of half and half. So 2 different delegates for a lot of our towns. So the secretary or manager or whoever's in charge of the municipality should be emailing those 2 representatives that are assigned to your communities each time. And I would just like to be CC'd on it. It shouldn't be anything more special than that, really. Because then I see it and I can be made aware, I can log it, and then I can see, okay, it's been resolved or it's not been resolved. Typically, I mean, I don't want to, when I've been made aware and when Waste Management's been tagged in it, usually those things get resolved pretty quickly. But I think a lot of the complaints have been residents are maybe reaching out to the generic 1-800 Waste Management, or they're calling the number maybe on their bill. And no one on our end and no one on your community's end is aware of that. So they're just talking to somebody that's in a phone service line, who knows where, and we're not aware. So.
Yeah, I just spoke with people who individually have a contract with Waste Management and do all that, and I do get frustrated. Because when asked, some residents came up to me of a different community and said they get it individually in that community, and they have tried to go up the line, and nobody's responded to them, but they did not know to contact the borough office.
Yeah, so I'll send out the little verbiage there. Again, you guys can use it. It's up to you. I just
Yeah.
wanted to provide
It's up to
something
communities to do
um,
that.
as requested. So yeah, please keep me in the loop. If you guys want any more literature or something, I can generate something. Again, this is a brand new model, and we just want to make sure it works for you guys as best it can.
Patrick, I appreciate that. Any other discussion on this topic? Okay.
So,
Sure.
Yep, so if a resident has a complaint, so the way that I guess we're getting this out is the delegates are going to be advertising this memo, I guess, for residents to use, and then we're directing them that if they have a complaint, for us specifically, we would say contact Tim and Mike, and then also CC Patrick. They're not CCing us or our borough manager. Everything's going through you.
So, I mean, ideally it would go through the manager, not the resident to the dispatcher. Yeah, I would recommend that Cindy and her team, they're the ones that are notified first. So the resident should be notifying Bellevue or every municipality. And then the municipality is going to notify Waste Management and me.
I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're still routing them to contact the borough as we have before, but now the
Of course, yeah.
borough has these 2 points of contacts and you to ensure that it gets followed up on.
Yep,
And
exactly.
how do we ensure our borough managers follow up?
That's up to you guys.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
so,
Again, I mean, that going through the COG is the only leverage we have for them to change if there's a change that needs to be made. So, you know, by not going through the COG, we don't have leverage. So that's the message.
And the individual citizens don't have the leverage either. Unless, right, John?
That's right. We wrote the contract that way for a reason, and that we should enforce it if we need to.
Yep, we have $20,000 just sitting in a bank account ready to be sent out to you guys. We just need to know about the problem, right? So,
Okay, any more discussion on this topic or questions? Moving on to Route 65 update.
So just real brief. So I reached out to Mr. Mario Leone, who's the Ambridge Borough manager. And he was at our presentation in January and seemed really invested and really involved in the original study. So I reached out to him because I've been reaching out to the Beaver County Council of Governments, and I haven't heard anything back. So today I just heard back from Mr. Leone, and apparently the executive director for the Beaver County Regional Council of Governments took a new job. So she's working for DCED. I guess that was probably 2 or 3 months ago. She started that role, and they haven't filled her role yet. So that makes sense to why I haven't heard anything back. I'm sure they have their hands full, so I'm not going to bother them too much. But I just asked Mr. Leone to let me know whenever he's aware of someone being hired, and I can introduce them to basically what we've done to this point. So that makes sense. You know, I was getting kind of worried there, but that's a good explanation. Other than that, so on April 25th, I met with District 11 representatives from PennDOT just to introduce myself to them because I haven't had a chance to do that yet. A lot of new faces on their end, and obviously, you know, this is the first time I've met with them. So they seemed interested. Again, I think there's always interest, but it's, you know, their big the big takeaway I took away from that meeting was they're going to want to see matching funds.
Sure.
Whether that comes from grants, whether it comes from our communities. Everyone's always going to be on board, but we need to have that plan whenever the time comes to show them that we have the funding and the will to move forward with it. So I thought it was a good first conversation. And again, they highlighted that, you know, maybe a phased in approach isn't the worst thing to consider moving forward with the master plan. If we can't get our friends in Beaver County along, maybe at the same speed, maybe they could be in phase 2. Does phase 2 ever happen? I don't know. But let's worry about phase 1 as far as our communities. So they said, you know, don't wait up if need be. So
Thank you. Now, any other discussion on the Route 65 plan? I don't have any. Next is the CDBG status report.
yeah, so really exciting period of time right now. We got a lot of projects that are wrapping up. I know our Lee Township sidewalk project for year 46 just wrapped up. year 47 project in Leedsdale and Coldmeyer Park just wrapped up. So we're going to be looking to finish up a lot of these projects. So CD 48, I've been reaching out because a lot of our community's been reaching out to me saying, hey, you know, the projects we applied for, did we get the funding? And the county just doesn't have an update, right? So I would expect, because last year's timing was around this time, you know, the middle of May, end of May, it probably will be coming down the pipeline soon. So if your communities did apply for a grant, kind of stay pat for now. I'm going to do my best to get an answer out of them sooner rather than later. But I think those that did apply are in good shape. I just can't give you the final right now. So as soon as I find out, you'll know.
Okay. Then we're going to go to concerns by delegates. Use the roll call. That's my favorite part of the meeting.
Avalon Borough, Roberta, do you have anything for us today?
No, I do not. Thank you so much.
All right, Sabrina, anything in Bellevue that you want to bring to the group?
Yeah, and I think it might be a concern that everybody's facing right now. We're trying to figure out how to properly and effectively and financially effectively staff our pools so that they can open this year. And we're having a hard time finding lifeguards. I know the conversation is like, we should up the pay to like $25, but that's like, so we've been like trying to explore opportunities to pay a fair wage and also maybe provide incentives. But we're having a rough time like recruiting lifeguards, which is going to make it difficult for us to open the pool, I think, safely. Because currently the conversation is around like, oh, we generally hire like 6, 14 or 15-year-olds. And I personally, I'm not getting in a pool with, could be hundreds of people and there's 6, 14-year-olds who are responsible, So I'm wondering if there's any tips, if anybody has been successful, or if we could entertain the idea of shared lifeguard services.
Have you reached out to other pool communities in the area to see what they're doing?
Our borough manager has. I can touch base with her to see if who that was and kind of what that feedback was. But I know the idea about maybe potentially moving to an incentive program, so paying from a layered level of, if you work up until this point, you'll get a bonus of $250. If you work the entire time, you'll get a bonus of $400. Because some people have like some of the kids have like sports and stuff that cuts down their time to be able to serve the full summer or the time that the pool is open. And then we're also trying to explore that. So it's my understanding that they have reached out to other groups, and that the takeaway is that everybody seems to be experiencing this like lifeguard shortage.
So my kids were lifeguard at Avonworth, and I think what was great is they got the certification through the pool. So I don't know if it's something that, new lifeguards will need to be certified. Maybe you pay for that, and then I don't know.
Yeah, we explore paying for it. It's just that they don't finish the whole term. And so it's kind of like, from a financial perspective, we're paying for, $200 something for them to be certified, for them to not work the entire time that the pool is open because of other extracurricular activities. And then also just the shared, like, not being able to have enough of them.
Yeah, I don't think you're the only one experiencing this problem. I know the Swiftly Y is also experiencing this problem, and local pools, private pools are experiencing this. It does seem like if you could share it, but and maybe contact the Ys too, because they're finishing up their lifeguard training programs. So I don't know if the Y can't get enough in doing their own training programs. I don't know. They have reached out to old lifeguards or people who had been lifeguards years ago, rather than to the younger crew too. But that's all I can tell you is you're not unique in the problem.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, and that's why I'm bringing it up here, because we know it's not a unique situation, and that's why I'm wondering, like, because this is something that's happening across the neighborhoods, are there any tips? And would you guys be interested in exploring a shared lifeguard service for the lifeguards that you do have?
I can't answer that, but certainly if you contact the pools maybe that are around you, maybe they would be willing to share. I have no idea. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Anything I could do to help distribute news, like if you have an advertisement, I could get that out to our communities. But yeah, it's a tough world right now as far as hiring people.
Yeah.
That's $1 million question. That really is.
Yeah, I can get you guys the advertisement that we've been using.
Marina, this is Bridget from Swickley. I have no idea if you've thought about contacting swim teams, talking to
Yes.
coaches. That might be a good recruiting tool. And if you did some kind of, I don't know how you would work this, but some kind of 2 for 3 for bonus thing if people came with friends. And I think with 15, 16-year-olds, it's a lot easier sell if they're going to be working with people that they know.
Yeah.
But there are some really big, very successful swim teams in this area, and I have no idea if that might be a place to start. If you haven't called around to those places, coaches might be able to sort of help you recruit people and give a little nudge.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, anybody else?
Tavia, anything in Ben Abbott?
Nope, I don't have anything.
All? Okay, Barbara?
No.
John Sebastian?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I talked to Harry last week, Harry Dillmore, the Kilbuck manager, and I was asking him about the potential of Waste Management to raise their prices. I remember in the contract, there's a stipulation about the price of fuel and how that could impact. And so Harry called Mike Chris, right, our kind of person delegate, and he said that they didn't think about raising prices right now, which is awesome. He said that the trucks are using liquefied natural gas and not necessarily diesel, so they weren't directly impacted. So that was good. Just wanted to share.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Anything new in Lee Township, Mr. Stavansky?
No, nothing that, but not at this time, Patrick, but thank you.
Jeff, anything in Leedsdale? Bridget, anything in Swickley that, well, first I want to introduce everyone. So Bridget Bates is serving as the alternate delegate in Swickley Borough tonight. So thank you very much for hopping on the call. Did you have anything that you wanted to bring to the group as far as Swickley Borough?
No, thank you for having me. It's a good education participating. Thanks. I'm sure Julie would have an update, but I do not.
Great. And I try to reach out to all the alternate delegates. I'll send an email to you and I'll just bring you up to speed on kind of how everything's going on. But I think tonight was a good primer, honestly. But yeah, I'll reach out in the next couple of days and we'll set up a Zoom call. Thank you. And that's it. That's everybody.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
See everybody next.
Thank you.
We'll see everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Zoom, yeah.